Now in this video we want the ability to be able to shoot these enemies in order to destroy them. So the first thing that we need is a crosshair for our gun so that we know exactly where we're pointing. So in the mobile game resources you'll find that I've given you the crosshair. We're going to place this on the canvas. So if you just right click on the canvas, choose UI and a new image, and then we're going to drag the crosshair into the source image. Okay, and then click set native size. So that's our crosshair. It doesn't need to be a raycast target. Raycast target effectively means something that you can interact with, that you can touch or press. Alright, this is just a simple graphic that sits in the middle of the screen. And that image will always stay in the middle of the screen. So as you move your gun around, you basically have to rotate your camera in order to position that crosshair to line up with one of these enemies. So let's call it crosshair. Okay, its default material is UI default, which I think should actually be fine. Yeah, it's a specific material that's designed specifically for UI, so it should be fine. Okay. Now we also need a sound. When we fire the gun, we can hear the sound of the gunfire. So in the sound effects, I've got a sound file called gunshot. Alright, with this, just make sure that you click on the Android icon and click override for Android. Alright, it's a really small file, and it is a .wav file, so a .wav. Okay, this one means it's uncompressed. Sometimes when you bring sound files in as MP3s, they're already compressed. And what happens is the mobile has to decompress the file to turn it into something like a wave or something, and then has to recompress it into Vorbis, okay, which is quite effective for mobiles, I believe. Or you could even just choose MP3. It's entirely up to you. Whereas if you've got a WAV file, basically it doesn't have to decompress it. It only has to compress it. So you're actually saving time. That works for small sound files. If you've got like a really big sound, like a background music, don't import that as a WAV. It's going to be absolutely massive, and it's going to increase your file size. You would obviously have that as an MP3, and you would just instead of decompress and load on that one, you would simply stream a really large file. Okay, so on the I'm going to apply that to the sound, so now it's changed. I think what I'll do is actually apply this to the parent. I think I'm going to click add component and choose audio source. There we go, audio source, and then basically drag this gunshot sound directly into the audio clip file. Don't play it on the wake and don't loop. I'm going to have it a 2D sound, so I don't have to mess around with any of these settings. And then basically we can then call that inside of the script. Okay, so let's actually get into the script then. So under the main, let's just open this and we'll place it into this one. First of all, I'm just going to comment this. So this is shooting. Okay, so the first thing that I need is the actual crosshair. So public of type game object that we'll call crosshair. Okay, and then I need the animator of the arms so that I can get it to effectively fire. So then I'm going to say public of type animator that we'll call arms anim. Okay, and then obviously the audio source that we've just added, so public of type audio source we'll call gunshot sound. Alright, there we go. So I'm just going to save that. Just wait for that to compile. Now obviously our script is on the ground. So we need, first of all, the crosshair. So let's just drag that into that slot. The arms anim, will actually be on the arms. It's basically going to get this animator, which is then going to be able to talk to these animations, and it's going to be able to run these parameters. So let's just drag arms anim in there, and it automatically finds the animator. And then the gunshot sound is sound effects. Just drag in the gunshot. Oh, sorry, not that one. It's on the parent, isn't it? The audio source. So we'll just drag. Oh, I'm on the canvas. Whoops. Control C. Leave the parent at the top there. I should have been on ground. Just drag parent into there, and it finds the audio source. All right, excellent. Let's just save. So now what we need is an actual button that allows us then to fire. Okay, and I'm actually going to use something very similar to this. So on the canvas, I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose 3D object, UI, and button. All right, that gives me this little button here. I want to change the graphic. Instead of UI sprite, I actually want to go with that joystick pack, sprites, and handles. All right, and I actually want this one, but without the arrows. Okay, so if I go to button, I can then drag this handle rigged directly into the source image, and I get this. All right, now what I need to do is basically just change my width to make it a little bit smaller, and then change the height. Now technically the button should be roughly about the same, so let's say 100 on the height and 100 on the width. There we go, and we'll get a perfect circle. So now I'm just going to drag this down and over to the right. Now we have to be careful about this one because it's over on the right hand side. It might match up with this device, but then if I change to a different device, let's say like the Apple iPad, notice it's off screen. All right, so just be careful how you set this one up. It's perfectly fine there. So you might have to go through a few of those to actually line it up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually bring it over here a little bit. All right, so it's more in line with this. And I want its anchor to be the bottom right. Okay, so it's going to try and stick to that bottom right section. Since this is the smallest screen, I can get it lined up on this one and just make sure everything is fine. Yep. Now on this, what we need to do here is click safe area, and what we can see is that the button is outside of the safe area. Always make sure if you've got an interactable item that it does sit within the safe area. Yep. Okay, switch off the safe area now. Yep, alright, that's looking good. Yep, it's looking fine on all of these, isn't it? So once again, just safe area. Yep, it's all perfectly fine. Okay. Yeah, alright. That's the good thing about this simulator. It allows you to make sure it's going to work on all the different devices. Okay, it does need to be a raycast target because we do need to push it. Alright, it's going to be a simple image, and we're going to apply a color tint to this. So it's normal color. I actually want this to be a red color. Now when you press it or highlight it, I actually want it to sort of turn to an orange. When you pressed it, I want it to be pretty much that same orange. Selected color, also the orange. Okay, so it just shows you that you pressed it basically. Now the text itself, I want this to say shoot, all uppercase. I want the text color to be white, so it stands out against that red background. The font size I'm going to increase to about 20, so you can definitely see that. And I want the font to be bold. Alright, so it really stands out. Excellent. So now I'm just simply going to rename this as shoot button. There we go. And then we can access that in the script. So on the button we get an on-click event whereby we can actually call a custom function. So back into the main script, what we're going to do is we're going to first of all call our own function. So below the update, make sure it's definitely not inside of either the start or the update or any other function. It's got to sit outside of it, but inside of the class, so it has to be inside of this element, definitely not below this final curly bracket. So I'll say public so that it's available from outside, void, and I'll call it shoot. So give it a name that's going to make sense, because there's probably going to be a lot of functions to choose from. You want to instantly know exactly what it's doing. Okay, so the first thing is we need to access the arms and get those to animate. So arms anim dot set trigger, and the trigger name that you have to put inside the quotation marks is whatever that variable was on arms. So let's have a look. It was called fire. Okay, so let's do that. It has to be spelled exactly the same way. So if it's got a capital F, it has to be capital. If it's lowercase f, lowercase. Otherwise it definitely won't work. Okay, and then we simply want this gunshot sound to play. Gunshot sound, there it is, dot play. And that will simply just play that sound. Let's save that. And I just want to test it at the moment to make sure that it does work. So in our simulator with our shoot button, just want to click the plus on the on click, drag in the ground, and that will access the script on that ground, which is the main script, and then we simply call this shoot function. So every time you press it, that button, it will basically run all of those commands. There's only 2 at the moment, so it should animate and play a gunshot sound. So let me change back to game, make sure I uncheck my mute audio so we can actually hear this, and then let's just see. Okay, there we go. Oh, and that's now yellow actually, so I want that to return back to red. So selected color, I'm going to have it as that same red. If you want the exact same red, you can just click on this. You can take this code, the hexadecimal, Control and C to paste into this one, Control and V to paste, and you'll end up with the exact same color. Let's just try it again to make sure that works. Ah, it does. Yeah, it does work. For some reason it was just showing me as selected. Okay, and we can hear the gunshot sound as well. Alright, so we definitely know that's working. So what we'll do in the next video is we'll sort out a ray casting system, whereby we'll shoot a ray from the gun towards the game world, and we'll hit whatever character there is there and basically kill the enemy characters.